Russia has gone into Ukraine, and that is the only thing we're talking about today. I got a great guest coming up at the front of the show, as plus tons of video that we found throughout the internet to kind of show you what's going on the ground level. Stick around. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning into Daily Caller Live. On today, it is February 24th, the year of our Lord 2022. We've got a great guest coming up at the front of the show. Mike Lyons, military analyst, great guy to talk to about what's going on in Russia. Also, we've got a ton of video. So I know the news media is taking like still shots of random places and not showing you what's going on the ground. We've got like 30 videos from the internet of all on the ground stuff that's coming up. But before we get into any of that sort of stuff, I want to bring on a great guest who I've been listening to for a lot of years, former CBS military analyst, Mike Lyons, military analyst, among other things. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing?
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
So just on the forefront of all of this, what did we expect to happen? So in the last 24 hours, our expectations have turned into reality. What did we expect to happen? And then what ended up actually happening? Obviously, with those two areas that Putin said are now independent, we kind of thought they were going to go there. Sorry, I'll let you answer the question. What did we expect and what ended up happening?
Well, I still think we didn't expect anything to happen. I didn't think that our government, our administration, I don't think Ukraine thought that the Russians were actually going to do what they did. And that is launch a large scale attack throughout their entire country. That's coming from two sides, coming from the north in Belarus on both sides of what's going to be the Dnieper River. And then from the east, coming from Russia itself. And so I really don't think we thought this was going to be. I don't think Ukraine was prepared for it. They did not put any defenses in place. I think that they thought in some ways that they were going to stop at the regions in the Donbass area, that they were going to annex those, and that was going to be it, similar to what we saw in Crimea before. But the level of attack that took place last night, still not shock and awe, but it's comprehensive. It goes throughout the whole country, and there's no question from Russia's perspective, the invasion is on.
So we saw Putin give that speech, and then almost instantaneously, right after that, things start to happen. Clearly, it was pretty dang calculated, or at least it looks like it. Did it seem like our intelligence or NATO's intelligence or, the UN's intelligence knew any of that sort of stuff? Or is this still kind of catching everybody off guard?
I thought our intelligence has been spot on, and I do think other countries did rely on it this time. It's a good example of when the intelligence community gets things right, and they really did for not just yesterday, but for the past few weeks and months. And in fact, other countries relied on it, and they left weeks before. So there was just the fact that you put 190,000 troops along the border there with Ukraine, that they were going to do something with it. So I think that once it started, then for all practical purposes, then we just got to look at where the attacks were going to be. For Russia to win, they have to go first after the Ukraine military, attack military assets on the ground, keep the Air Force from getting in the air, go after air defense platforms, keep them from detecting Russian planes so they can have air superiority. We want to call it a little bit of shock and awe, maybe a little bit from our playbook back from 91 when we went to Desert Storm, or even 2003, because Russia now has got great distances to travel on the ground in order to get to certain centers of gravity within the government. But the bottom line is, based on the attacks that took place on the ground last night from rocket systems, from air, and from other launch platforms, they're all throughout the country, which tells me that they're going to eventually try to encircle the whole country out.
Holy cow. So from that standpoint, militarily, what are, one, Ukraine's options, and two, what are the West's options in terms of aid with what's going on in Ukraine? What are the military options going forward now that we kind of know what the plan is, I guess?
Well, Russia also has threatened the West and threatened NATO countries that if they get involved and they decide to do something, that they're going to he's going to respond in a way that we've never seen before from a consequence perspective. I mean, we've not had a Russian leader talk like that about America since, Nikita Khrushchev, we will bury you comment that took place in the 50s when we were doing the space race. So I think what we've got to do, first of all, is shore up our NATO defenses along the Polish border as well as the Baltics. I think the Baltics are the next place that if it should go and continue to go in a direction that he wants to expand, that's where the place will be. There's a small patch of Russia, Kaliningrad, that's in between Poland and the Estonia, Latvia, and the Baltic states areas there, that Russia might want to connect back up with Belarus and try to take again those other countries to the north. So that's from a military perspective. Now, however, come back to Ukraine, because they didn't put any kind of defenses in place. I don't think their president thought that this was going to happen. And then he had a very sober comment to his people last night as he put the word out. So it's going to make it a lot easier for Russia to advance. There's no minefields. There's no kind of defensive belts. There's none of that's taking place. I at least hope they were on alert and some of those aircraft weren't on air strips and they got bombed in place or whatever the case may be. Because right now, protecting the military assets Ukraine has is going to be most important as what's going to be a very large Russian maneuver force comes towards the capital.
So late last night, I was following along. Looked like President Biden talked with President Zelensky. This is not the time, I don't think, to play the blame game here. But as far as sanctions go, President Biden promised more sanctions. Do you think that has any effect on the trajectory of this thing?
I'm not sure. I don't think in the short term it does, because I think Vladimir Putin has inoculated himself financially to the situation to keep it going. He's betting that he can get this done before he does run out of money or before he gets runs out of support. The Chinese are going to continue to backstop him, I think. The question is what happens 6 months from now? What happens with commerce? There's a side to me that still believes that he thinks that he's going to be able to come back in the international community of nations and he'll be selling his oil and gas back on the market again. I just don't know of where that's going to go until we kind of figure out what his final end game is here, which I think he wants to get it done quickly. Although I haven't seen, again, the shock and awe that I was expecting. I was expecting a lot more from Kiev in particular. I was expecting a lot more there, but again, it looks like he just focused on those military targets, the airfields in particular around Kiev.
Interesting. Last thing before I let you go, the question's been swirling around constantly. China, Taiwan, anything you see there, any movement that you see, or anything we should be worried about with the other side of the world?
Well, there's a report that saw somehow Chinese aircraft going over Taiwan. That's I think premature. I think that if the Chinese decide to muddy this water here, first, our administration, I think, has got all it can handle right now with this situation. But that would be unusual for China to do. China usually has great patience. They eventually kind of wait things out until things really become more of a fait accompli. If they decide that's not the case now, this time, if they want to react based on what's happening, it really puts the world in a really crazy situation of we haven't seen this since World War I. I think there's a better analogy based on the alliances that are out there in the world and specifically the amount of confusion this is creating. There is no backstop for Taiwan. The only backstop is the U.S. Navy. We have a carrier group that's there, and that's it, but we don't have anything else. And the question is also whether we would do anything or not. We don't want to get into a war with China. That's unimaginable. Where would that war take place? It takes place on the sea in all likelihood, and we just don't have the naval assets right now to do that.
Interesting. Is there anything that you have specifically that, like, you're beholden to the questions that I'm asking, but is there anything that you would want people to know or have people know if you were to just say whatever you want regarding the Ukraine situation?
Yeah, cyber right now, I think, is the thing we've got to be concerned about. Cyber is something that the United States has peers in, and that could be one of the responses that Russia will do through proxy. It won't necessarily do it from their direct hand, let's say. But I'd like to think that we've silently put our cyber defenses on a wartime footing in the United States, our critical infrastructure. I know our banks and energy companies are probably taking a second and third look right now and making sure that they're well defended, because I think that's the place where if there's going to be some kind of response or escalation, it happens there. Cyber oversees all land, sea, airspace domains, and where we might have superiority, but we have peers there. For example, North Korea's cyber team doesn't even sit inside North Korea. It's unbounded by geography. Well, same with Russia. We could be attacked outside of the geography that we're currently in. So I think we've got to be concerned about cyber right now. And I'd like to think that we've quietly put our cyber defenses on a wartime footing.
Interesting. Wow. Hey, Mike, thanks so much. Mike Lyons, military analyst. I know you're probably a busy guy today, so I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come chat with us.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon. Holy cow. So that was really, really interesting. Again, there's so many intricacies going on here that I feel like we are missing on a lot of different levels, especially with your mainstream media. I wanted to get to, let me see. There's so many things going on. Last night was a scramble. This morning was a scramble to try and get everything we wanted to on the air. First things first, if you're listening right now, watching this live, hit the little like button, hit the little share button. It really, really helps us get out to the more people we can get to, the better that are seeing this, because this is, I hope, not like any other news show today. We pulled a bunch of online on-the-ground footage from the Ukraine situation going on there. I want to just start playing that sort of stuff. This is just kind of what's going on. I'll probably kind of provide some commentary. If you're listening just now, this is just a podcast that you're listening to. This is not the best podcast to just listen to. A lot of visual stuff. So let me just roll through some of this footage and kind of explain what's going on. We vetted most of it. I don't think there's any graphic warnings here, but just so you know, there's a ton of stuff from on the ground in Ukraine, and we'll just kind of roll through this. So that, to my knowledge, was a missile that launched into an airport there in Ukraine. Crazy video. You saw that missile come straight through the air and hit the ground. Let's see what's next after that. Obviously, the huge plumes of smoke coming through. Jeez. This is a cruise missile in Kiev, hit the capital city. There's a guy talking, it's in Russian, Ukrainian, I don't know what he's saying. But that is a cruise missile that was launched from Russia into Ukraine. Obviously, pretty chaotic situation there on the ground. Geez, the visual components out of this are fascinating. Not really at all in a good way. All of the different little projectiles from that missile. So this is inside one of the subway stations in Kiev. People kind of huddled together in there. I just kind of want to get a picture back of that. As you can see, that's inside one of the train stations, the subway stations in Kiev. Hundreds, if not thousands of people crowded in there to avoid the bombing that's going on in the capital city of Ukraine. Didn't chop off this end part, so sorry about that. Also, there's these are some pretty stunning images from across the city. This looks like downtown Los Angeles during rush hour. As you can see, all of the white lights are leading out of Kiev, the capital. President Zelensky of Ukraine yesterday issued a statement saying, hey, please, as much as you can, try and remain calm. But a lot of people, rightfully so or understandably so, are evacuating the capital city. Again, this is an aerial shot just of traffic heading out. Very few cars going in. Here's more footage of that, traffic coming out. The one thing I'm curious about is, I don't know, if it were me, I wouldn't be sitting in that traffic. I'd be on the other side of the road driving the opposite direction. But yeah, just a ton of different people, not a ton of people leaving the city as quickly as possible. Yeah, pretty difficult situation to take in. Again, this is all on the ground. This is a residential area. Missile or a bomb, I'm not sure what the terminology is. I'm not a military guy. Landed right at the beginning there. You saw that little divot and blew out these car windows. This little divot right here is where this missile landed, and obviously the explosion blew out the car windows. Here's some footage of some more of the bombing that went on in Ukraine last night. I believe, like Mike Lyons was saying earlier in the show, they're primarily trying to hit military bases in Ukraine, trying to immobilize the Ukrainian military, which is there's a lot of different reporting on what's actually happened since then. This is in Kiev. These are some of the sirens going on in downtown in the capital city. These are missiles launched from Russia, I believe. These are missiles, again, from Russia into Ukraine. Different footage of that. Some of the images there are holy cow. Later on in a bunch of the videos we pulled, here's that same video we saw earlier. This cruise missile that landed in Kiev. Sorry for the duplicate there. Yeah, yikes. So that's what's going on there. I've got a bunch of footage of tanks rolling in and aircraft flying over Ukraine from Russia. We'll get to all of that in just a quick second. I want to kind of explain, or at least find, here's the best article I found. I think it's from Axios that kind of outlined everything going on in Russia at the moment. Again, this is from Axios. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a special military operation in Ukraine in a speech that appeared to serve as a declaration of war, which in hindsight, that's exactly what it is. State of play, Russian troops have already begun to move into eastern Ukraine, and large explosions were reported immediately after Putin's speech, including near Kiev. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Kublai tweeted, a full-scale investigation is now underway. Peaceful Ukrainian cities are under strikes. This is a war of aggression. Ukraine will defend itself and it will win. The world must not stop Putin. Must stop Putin. It is the time to act is now. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that military installations around the country were under attack, declared martial law, and said he spoke to President Biden. He also issued a statement to Ukrainians urging them to stay home and stay calm. The army is doing its work. Russian Defense Ministry claimed to be attacking military targets and air bases, not population centers. But there is footage that we've got coming up that shows that they are attacking some more populated areas. Putin said the military operation would be intended to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, but not to occupy it, which is an insane... Putin used the term denazify. I believe Volodymyr Zelensky, who is the president of Russia, is Jewish. So that's a crazy thing to say. But he said not to not occupy it. I think what they're trying to do is a swift takeover. Again, if you listen to Mike Lyons at the beginning of this episode, he was talking about the fact that we thought they were going to invade eastern Ukraine. Turns out, it looks like they're going in from all sides and hoping to surround all of the major cities in Ukraine. There's a little bit more from this article, but I want to get into some of the footage on the ground there. Again, I know there's a couple thousand of you watching this. If you haven't already, click the little like button on whatever platform it is, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and click the little share button. Again, really, really helps us get to more people, and I think a lot of people need to see this because I think a lot of your news outlets are doing like the one angle type thing, and it's not awesome. So we're going to roll on with a bunch of the footage found across the internet. This is a bunch of the stuff on the ground. These are tanks rolling in, not so much airstrikes or air combatants. We'll get to that in just a quick second, but check out this footage from on the ground in Ukraine. If you're just listening, again, we'll try to describe it a little bit. These are just tanks rolling through the streets to the best of our knowledge. Look, and also, yeah, tons of them lined up. Tanks rolling through towns. This is from an apartment building, it looks like. More tanks rolling through. It looks like a full-blown ground. I don't even say ground attack again. I'm not the best military guy when it comes to this. Just showing you what is happening from around the internet right now. It was really interesting. A lot of this footage we had pulled last night, or at least slated to pull last night for this morning, and then didn't end up getting it because those tweets were deleted or censored or went against Twitter's protocol. So that was interesting. Here, listen to this. You can kind of see tanks rolling through. You can hear the shots going on. This is actually a CNN report that I thought was interesting. This is the only real talking head we've got on here, but this is from CNN. We'll play this and let you watch, again, tanks rolling through.
Hey, John. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there's a column of main battle tanks that are coming to here. I'd say it's some sort of model of the T-72. You can tell they're rolling past us. I'm going to have to speak very loud because they are obviously very loud as they roll along here. They're rolling past our position right now, and what you can see here is that their tracks are very dirty, so they must have been dug into some field and now sort of switching their positions. They're coming past us right now, and this is really something. We can get close. You can see that their tracks are really covered in mud, so they must have been sort of dug into some sort of field position as they're rolling past us now. And now if we pan over, you can see that those vehicles also, John, are now moving forward. Those vehicles are clearly now moving forward towards the territory of Ukraine. They've come from somewhere on the side. They've just made that turn, and that's exactly the road leading to Ukraine. So that's
so that was in Russia. Tanks rolling through. This is one of the border cams. I think this is probably pretty long, but you can see the lines of tanks going through, lines of military vehicles going through different border stops in Ukraine. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. This footage continues to go on and on and on. Oh, here is this is again more footage of different things. This is a warehouse. Saw this clip again. Airstrikes coming in. It looks like, again, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology here, but airstrikes. This looks like this is some warehouse in Ukraine. Watch this. It doesn't last long. Yeah. So again, some sort of missile. I don't know what kind of missile it was. But again, Ukraine is heavily, it seems, under fire. I want to go back to kind of reading a little bit more about what this Axios article said. Putin said this: to anyone who would consider interfering from the outside, if you do, you will face consequences greater than any you've ever faced in history. All relevant decisions have been taken. I hope you hear me. So Vladimir Putin, in his declaration of war speech, right before, literally like to the second before these attacks started happening, Putin basically said in that speech, if you do anything to interfere from the outside, NATO, the UN, the United States, Britain, Germany, France, you will face consequences greater than you have ever seen in history. That a lot of people are taking that as a nuclear threat. I'm not sure. I don't know. That's what they're saying. Putin called on Ukrainian forces to lay down their arms and claimed all responsibility for possible bloodshed would fall on the government in Kiev. Or Kyiv. It's been Kiev since forever, and now people are calling it Kyiv. I don't know how to pronounce it. Putin, excuse me. Putin claims that Ukrainian forces somehow provoked the conflict, despite the fact that Russians have built up forces of over 150,000 troops on Ukraine's borders over the last several months. He argued in an hour-long speech on Monday that Ukraine has no right to exist as an independent country. President Putin issued a statement saying the prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine tonight. President Biden quickly issued a statement saying the prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine tonight as they suffer an unprovoked and unjustified attack by Russian military forces. So Vladimir Putin is trying to justify this by saying that this was Russian land to begin with, especially these parts of Ukraine, but also the entirety of Ukraine as itself. It is kind of interesting to see the different strategic tactics. Again, I'm not a military expert, but on Monday, when Putin said these two parts of Ukraine are entirely independent, they're completely independent, and we need to free them from Ukrainian rule, it would seem that that was a head fake to get everybody focused on these territories and say, well, maybe he'll just try and take those territories. But again, as Mike Lyons was saying earlier in the show, it looks like they're going to encircle the entire country. So what Putin said on Monday seemed to be a look over there while we do this sort of thing. Biden promised Zelensky additional U.S. support in their call per the White House readout. He also noted that there is to be a meeting with the G7 tomorrow, which is now today. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke with NATO's Secretary General. Zelensky made his own address on Wednesday night, speaking to the Russian people directly to plead for peace, but warns if Russia attacks, they will see our faces, not our backs. It's an interesting strategy that Ukraine has. It seemed like a lot of the people talking on the ground, Richard Engel reporting, a bunch of the man on the street interviews that he did, is their plan is to kill as many Russians as possible, as fast as possible. Whether or not that's entirely possible to do, nobody actually knows. But that's the plan, to try and take any of the support that would be in Russia off of the table. So the idea would be, strategically, Ukraine would hit Russia back as hard and as fast as possible. Their words, not mine, kill as many Russians as possible to hopefully maybe get the Russian people to turn on Vladimir Putin to stop this. Here's some more clips. This is a bunch of the airstrikes going on. These are probably the most fascinating clips that I think I've seen. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it. Just click the little like button. There are more people watching this right now that have clicked the little like button and the little share button. It helps us get to more people, and I think that most people aren't necessarily bringing all of these types of clips on. So I think people need to see this sort of thing. It helps us get more people. Just really quick. It doesn't cost you anything. Just click the little like button and the little share button. Would really, really appreciate it. Here's some of the aerial footage we'll kind of discuss as it goes forward. I know this is much more of a video show today than it is an audio show. So if you're listening, go watch the retake on YouTube. Or Facebook. Yeah, dang. These are Russian planes flying over Ukraine. Here's helicopters flying over, dispensing some sort of projectile. Again, I don't know what this is, but it's, again, video from on the ground in Ukraine. Here's a bunch of helicopters flying in over some sort of water mass. I'm not sure where this is. I'm not sure what it is. But you can see helicopters dispersing what appear to be some sort of missile. I'm not sure if there's a city below that. I'm not sure where this is, but it's fascinating footage. I believe Al Jazeera retweeted or reposted this last night. Crazy footage here. Sorry, but not really much I can say here with the noise. Watch this. This is nuts. Sorry, that's a little bit disturbing. Obviously, you don't want to see the kids crying, but that's outside of somebody's window. I'm going to replay that again because that's an intense video. You can see a Russian plane off in the distance. It looks like, remember, Putin is saying that they're not attacking dense areas. They're just attacking military bases and non-populated areas. But this sure looks populated to me. You can see this plane coming in from a distance and launching something that looks like the building right next door. Holy cow. Yeah, there's not much to say here other than this is crazy. This video is a bunch of helicopters coming through. Again, well, I'm going to pause it after this and give a little bit of commentary.
Warzone.
Holy cow. So if you're just watching this, or sorry, if you're just listening, there's like 15 of these helicopters flying over what is probably a densely populated Ukrainian area.
Я даже сбился еще.
It's nuts. Yeah, I don't know. There's no other way to put it than holy cow. These are unlike any images we've ever seen, and they keep coming. Like this video is a little bit longer, but they're continuing to come. There's more of them. Jeez, probably 20 or 30
Ну, стреляй по мне.
as this thing keeps rolling. Yeah, and that's
О, и акула идет, акула,
yeah, it is
вот она. Сейчас
hadn't watched the
стараюсь
whole thing.
поближе ее заснять. Вот она. Замыкает. Над моим домом летает, охраняет. Как комаров.
Look at that! Holy cow! Here's another video here. Before that, I just want to quickly say this one thing. The only thing really to say right now is be thankful that you live in the United States of America, regardless of your political differences, domestic issues, race relations. All of that garbage is nonsense. When this kind of thing could be happening. You know how much diversity they care about in Ukraine right now? Freaking none. If you're able and willing, grab a gun and go fight. That's what they're thinking. I know we live in a very polarized time, but just remember the best thing you've ever done is be born in America. That was not your choice either. So consider yourself lucky and count your blessings. That there's no way that this happens in the United States of America anytime soon. But this is a reality for millions of people in Ukraine. I think it's a country of like 40 million people. I'm going to roll on with some more of this footage, but I just wanted to get that in there. I'll probably reiterate that later on after a couple of these clips. Looks like a security camera from a neighborhood home. I'm going to play that again. But you hear some rumbling, and then you just see things blow up. Again, maybe not the most densely populated urban area, but this is as populated as I need it to be nervous as heck. Dang.
Дружеская Россия сделала. Вот нанесен удар, сзади меня воронка, еще дымится, видите? Вот.
This is a guy. He's just kind of again, I don't speak Russian necessarily.
Посмотрите. Вот.
But he's talking. He's at an airport. I remember reading the tweet about this. He's at an airport.
Слышно.
That just got pelted.
Вот я на военном аэродроме.
Jeez. So that's that. That's the footage we got. More of that is coming on. If you missed any segment of this, you can go rewatch it. We just tried to compile all of the videos that you may not see on your mainstream media and condense them down. Maybe we'll continue on. Maybe we'll replay some of the ground clips just because I know there's a bunch of people that hop on and off of this thing constantly. So yeah. the main takeaway from this is be thankful that you live in the United States of America. Regardless of your political ideology, your political leaning, how much you want racial diversity, none of that crap matters when this is happening where you live. So that's that. Again, count your blessings, because what's going on there is nuts. Again, if you haven't already, click the little like button, click the little share button. Really, really helps us out, like immensely helps us out, get to more people across social media platforms. It helps us stay on the air, make some coin. But hit the little like button. Doesn't cost you anything. Just really appreciate you doing that. Let me see. I want to, I don't know what I want to do here. We can hop off here, but we can also replay some of this stuff. Because I'm looking at the numbers right here. There's like 1,200 brand new people that just jumped on and off this stream. I'm just going to roll through some of this video again. I know if you've been watching from the beginning, appreciate it. I'm not sure that we'll roll through that entire thing, but check this out. This is just some of the footage that we played earlier in the show. You know, I want to roll back on that one because you can see the missile coming through and then landing. Dang. It's missile footage of an explosion at a Ukrainian airport. This is that cruise missile that they found that exploded. This is again, I thought, one of the more interesting things. This is from a downtown subway tunnel. People, probably thousands of people across the country, in these little tunnels that are sheltering for obvious reasons. But yeah, as you can see, a ton of sorry, we didn't clip that out. A ton of people in those underground areas. This is, again, the traffic coming out of Ukraine. Sorry, coming out of Kiev. I'm not sure specifically how you want to pronounce that. But, again, more traffic coming out. If it were me, I would be on the other side of that lane driving out. Because I feel like you never know when that's going to turn. I want to get back. Where's that CNN clip? That guy talking about tanks rolling. Scrubbing through video. That's where a bomb hit, blocked out all the windows there. Actually, you know what? Let's see. Yeah, again, if you're watching this is just crazy footage that we found and collected and put together, because I don't think people entirely are seeing this on your TV screen. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, but I know big media loops stuff just constantly. These are sirens coming through downtown Kiev. Some missiles coming out of Russia. There's that cruise missile again. Yeah, this is where we're at. Here, listen to this. Listen to this one report again. So this is a CNN reporter in Russia talking about. Well, let me play this clip first. You can hear some shots and look at some tanks, but also then listen to the CNN reporter talking about where these tanks are headed.
Вон там.
Holy cow.
Rolling in general. Look at this if you can.
Hey, John. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a column of main battle tanks that are coming to here. I'd say it's some sort of model of the T-72. You can tell they're rolling past us. I'm going to have to speak very loud because they are obviously very loud as they roll along here. They're rolling past our position right now, and what you can see here is that their tracks are very dirty, so they must have been dug into some field and now sort of switching their positions. They're coming past us right now, and this is really something. We can get close. You can see that their tracks are really covered in mud, so they must have been sort of dug into some sort of field position as they're rolling past us now. And now if we pan over, you can see that those vehicles also, John, are now moving forward. Those vehicles are clearly now moving forward towards the territory of Ukraine. They've come from somewhere on the side. They've just made that turn, and that's exactly the road leading to Ukraine. So that's
Dang. Yeah, and then you see a bunch of tanks crossing the border. Really quick, going to go back to some of these aerial footage. Just again, I know we've played these already, and if you've been watching the whole time, I appreciate it. But again, 1,400 new people just came on here, so we'll replay a couple of these clips. This is freaking fascinating footage. I'm not sure what that is. I got a comment in the comment section that said these types of helicopters are sending out flares. I'm not sure why that would be. Maybe warning people? I don't really know. The footage, though, is just amazing. This is amazing. Not in a good way, by the way. Don't take my words out of context. This is that one. If you're sensitive to things, don't watch this one. But this is you'll see this plane come out of nowhere on the left-hand side of the screen, and launch a missile that looks like it hits like 100 feet away from where these people are filming. This is troubling to watch, but this is happening. Watch that one more time. Look at this. You can barely see it. We'll pause it right in when we can at that. Look at that. Holy cow. Those things hit maybe 100 yards away from these people. And it's terrible to see kids crying in the back here, which is just awful. But yeah, this is reality right now. It's getting nuts there.
Игорь! Побежали. Давай.
Подвал!
Вещи.
That's rough, man. That's a family trying to figure out what the heck to do. Again, if you're just watching this, check out these helicopters. At first, it looked like there was like a dozen of them. Then it looked like there were 15, 20. They're like 30, maybe 40 of these things flying over this area. To be honest with you, I don't know who this. I don't know if this is Russian helicopters. I don't know if it's Ukrainian helicopters, but it sure looks like it's. I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's just crazy. That's the only thing I can say here is it's just freaking crazy.
Я даже сбился совершенно. О, и акула идет, акула.
They
Вот
keep
она.
coming too.
Сейчас.
Wow.
Как?
So here's another clip. Again, this is rough to watch, but this is happening in a real place right now.
Россия
And
сделала.
here's this guy kind of showing around the airport. Jeez, man. All that stuff is tough to take in. I gotta hop off here. I know we went kind of long. We're what, 45 minutes in now. Maybe we'll be back on later in the day just in case something goes differently. Yeah, maybe we'll come back on later in the day. We'll see, depending on things happening. And we're gonna collect more footage from around the Twitterverse, around the internet. Because again, there's people that have cameras on the ground, but you can get a much better look of on the ground from the stuff that you can find. I'm not going to promise that we're going to be on later today, but maybe I don't know. This is nuts. And I want to sit here and talk about it and look at stuff all day, but unfortunately, I got to go do a thing. So that's going to do it for us, at least right now. Maybe we'll come back a little bit later. But again, the last thing I want to say, the final thing, the most important thing, is the only thing that you can say right now is, thank God I live in the United States of America. Count your blessings. The best thing you've ever done is be born in the United States of America. This is a reality for tens of millions of people in Ukraine right now. Regardless of how you feel about politics, regardless of what you think about domestic issues that are going on, regardless of how much you care about racial inclusion and all that garbage nonsense, just be thankful this isn't happening where you live. Because you know how much they care about diversity in Ukraine right now? None. If you're able and willing, grab a gun and go fight. That's what they're thinking. Again, it's a reality for some people, and thank God it is not a reality for us in the United States of America. That's going to do it for us today. Again, maybe we'll be back on a little bit later. If you haven't already, follow me on social media. I'll be tweeting, gettering, Instagramming, Facebooking, a bunch of stuff throughout the day as it continues. We'll be back maybe a little later, but also maybe tomorrow to talk different things going on. We'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. God bless America.